There's a Ben Shapiro video which shows a real ugly turn in the way our culture is going. It's about something that I've been talking about at length over the last few weeks and months, in fact. But I think it's a particularly sort of ugly turn of events that's really nothing much short of disturbing, and that is that it was an NBC talk program featuring Ben Shapiro discussing transgenderism with a couple of so-called transgender people. And there's nothing new about Ben Shapiro, or any other conservative for that matter, being completely outnumbered on a TV talk show and being talked down and talked over. I have referred in recent videos to the notorious incident involving John McEnroe having to vigorously defend the statement that Serena Williams, however good a woman tennis player she is, doesn't hold a candle to male tennis players. He was shouted down and called a sexist and pretty much browbeaten into apologising for this outrageous statement. Be it noted that Serena Williams has actually in the past played a professional male tennis player ranked somewhere down near the 200 mark and was completely smashed by a guy who was also playing her sister at the same time and smashed her as well without kind of raising a sweat. And he was being browbeaten into apologising for stating that the obvious fact that female tennis players can't even compete with male tennis players, much less, win a match. But harking back to the Ben Shapiro video, there were, I think, 6 other panel members who just sat there in silence, saying nothing, and which incidentally Shapiro pointed out that 6 against 1 were pretty good odds in his favour when you're up against leftists. There's nothing new in all this. But the Ben Shapiro incident was, I think, marks a real sort of turning point, because it reveals the true sort of nature of the beast for all to see in a little bit more pointed and dramatic fashion. And that is that in the course of this program concerning transgenderism, one of the transgender members of the panel, a big beefy guy, a man, literally threatened to put Shapiro in hospital. Just a straightforward out-and-out threat of violence. He also put a hand on Shapiro at the same time, which is a little bit, I would think, a little bit dodgy for somebody who's threatening violence to you. To have them actually physically touch you is a little bit out there. And this guy, moreover, threatened to meet Shapiro in the car park after the show and presumably beat him up. Now, when I talk about how disturbing this is, it is, now it's not unusual for all the panel to be against the Conservative in these situations, but in this case, nobody, not a single person on that panel, raised any kind of problem about this, which I should think is really unheard of. I mean, there's nothing new about people getting into violent arguments, or actually even violence itself on the TV set in TV history. But nobody condones it. I mean, everybody thinks, well, you've just really gone overboard and all the rest of it. But to have all of these panel members sitting there and not even uttering a sound, uttering a word about how an intellectual argument is met with a threat of violence. After threatening Shapiro with physical violence, this man continues to refer to him as a little man, which, to me, this goes against every kind of concept that I've ever been force-fed by the left about denigrating people for the way they're born. Now, I mean, I think that Ben Shapiro is probably just a little bit less than average height. I don't think he's notably of small stature anyway. But to hear this transgendered person who was born that way denigrate another human being for the way they were born, who is also really, really anti-racist and all that as well, is kind of sublimely idiotic. Nobody on the panel called this guy out and were implicitly in agreement with what he was saying. Now, Shapiro was just sitting there making a calm, reasoned argument. I don't know what the content of an argument is that says, hey, you were born a man, so you are like actually a man, or you were born a woman and you're actually a woman. I don't know how much elaborate intellectual argumentation is required for, for this assertion, but he was just calmly sitting there and insisting that this was the case, and he was met with that response. Now, what I mean when I say that this is a disturbing turn of events in these matters, this is the real nub of it, and it's all of a piece with the Covington schoolboys and the recent case of the actor who claimed to have been set upon by right-wing homophobes. With the Covington schoolboys, the left is evaluating this from afar. I mean, they're not on the scene. But, these people on the panel here are actually seeing this acted out before their eyes, and they're still completely misconceiving, deliberately misconstruing what's going on and lying to themselves about what they're seeing with their own eyes. The really disturbing thing is the way, as I say, all of the other panel members just sat there and accepted all this, so that was all right and good. But the subtext of the whole episode was that Ben Shapiro had risen up out of his chair, got into this guy's face, assailed this guy with violent verbal abuse, spraying this guy with saliva, and this guy had just been provoked into a threat of physical violence in the face of this vile verbal abuse. And, I mean, if you've seen this video, Shapiro is just sitting there, calmly arguing, as he himself said in the video. Ben Shapiro is a hardened veteran of ideological warfare. He's used to getting everything thrown at him that you can imagine. But he himself said that he was really quite stunned by this, as you would be. To have an out-and-out threat of physical violence with members of the panel, all of the other members of the panel, portraying this as a quite legitimate response to vile personal attack. I've been saying forever that leftists don't believe in the truth. They don't know what the truth looks like. Whenever I hear a leftist appeal to truth, I think, what truth is it? Everything you believe in is relative. What truth do you believe in? They lie. They lie instinctively. And I think the general public is just beginning to wake up to something that I've been saying forever, that everything leftists say about every social and political issue for decades has been a rendition of the principle that what is the truth is what is true for me. And this sickening incident involving Ben Shapiro shows this up in all its glory for what it is. And I don't think our society is going to get any better for it. Not just seeing the open display of arrogance and mendacity of the left, which is to say you're lying for a really noble cause. I don't think that situation's going to improve, because everybody will learn their lesson when they see this Shapiro video. And then I think it's just a sign of things to come about how just totally degenerate our modern Western world has become. That's it for now.